welcome to SAE Unplugged. It's been a long time, but I haven't forgotten about you, and I'm back because the market for Robotaxis is changing. And with that in mind, I'm your host, Grayson Brulte. We're seeing a lot of change in the Robotaxi market. We're seeing fragmentation enter the market. For the longest time, the market was Waymo, there was Cruise, there was Argo, but there was always Waymo. Waymo, for all practical sense or terms of the world, you could say was driving away with the market. Heck, today they are still driving away with the market when you look in terms of the market share, you look at terms of miles driven, you look at terms of daily rides, weekly rides, monthly rides, look at city expansion. Waymo continues to expand. As Waymo continues to, I'll use the term, perfect their product because Waymo is making a really great product. They're calling it the world's safest driver. I could sit here and make a very strong argument to you that perhaps they're creating the world's perfect driver. A driver that doesn't get distracted. Driver that doesn't get drowsy. Driver that doesn't fall asleep. Yes, I'm saying it. People do fall asleep when they drive it. It happens at times. Well, as Waymo's driving ahead, the market is starting to fragment. We're starting to get interesting maneuvers in the market around strategies. Nuro, over this last 8 to 10 months, publicly came out and talked about their pivot to licensing. Wayve, that Alex Kendall founded and still leading to this day out of the UK, they're focusing on licensing. We're beginning to see the licensing market evolve. Nuro's technology, I've been for a ride in Nuro's latest vehicle. Nuro's come a really long way. They're coming on strong. Wayve is coming on strong as well. While I have not been in the Wayve vehicle as of yet, Mr. Kendall has invited me to go for a ride. And one day I will go in that ride and I'll share my full thoughts with you on Wayve. But those two companies are the clear leaders in licensing. They're focusing on licensing. Licensing's great. But when is licensing not great? When you don't have an OEM partner. And when you don't have an OEM partner, you can't take your really great self-driving technology to put it on a vehicle. And on the backside of that, you need a platform partner to deploy that technology on. And that's where Lyft and Uber come in. Mr. David Risher, CEO of Lyft, has been out there very publicly touting the benefits of autonomous vehicles, or if you want to use the term robotaxis. Mr. Risher, in my opinion, published last week on a blog, Lyft's manifesto for autonomous vehicles. And Mr. Risher clearly states the manifesto begins around partnerships. Lyft wants to be the partnerships platform. I can envision a scenario in the future where Nuro, Wayve, or even May Mobility vehicles, and May Mobility will start operating in Atlanta this year on the Lyft network. We do not know when. All we do is know is that 2025, where their technology will operate on that platform where Nuro and Wayve could cut an OEM deal, or perhaps it's Foxconn. Foxconn now, it's been reported by Reuters, it's been reported by the Nikkei, it's been reported by the Financial Times that they have an interest in merging potentially or buying Nissan. Could we get to a point where Foxconn is producing autonomous vehicles that are built for licensing? Could the Nuro vehicle be built by Foxconn? Could the Wayve vehicle be bought by Foxconn? Could it run on the Nissan platform? Then could that Nissan platform then run on Uber and Lyft? That's what Lyft's building. Lyft wants to be a platform. And when Mr. Risher highlights the benefits of the Lyft platform, Mr. Risher is emphasizing fleet management. When you think about fleet management, we'll make it really simple terms here. Fleet management works when, not to be silly, you know how to clean the vehicle. If somebody or an individual throws up in the vehicle, somebody has to clean it up, or hopefully you have robots that do it. How are the vehicles going to be gassed? Yes, the gas markets are growing. The demand globally for gas is growing. Or if you're going to run them electric, who's going to charge them? Who's going to make sure that the vehicles pass inspection? And I was speaking with a law enforcement official the other day, and he said something interesting. He goes, Grayson, who's going to check the tire treads? How are we going to know that that vehicle is safe to operate? That's where fleet management comes in. Lyft years ago acquired a company called FlexDrive. That's what they're focused on. Mr. Risher says, okay, we own FlexDrive. They're a subsidiary of Lyft. So you can come on our platform, you can tap into our fleet management. And then Mr. Risher said, along with Mr. Kawasaki, the CEO of Uber, says, we don't want to build the technology. That's where Nuro and Wayve comes in. And you might say, well, what's Uber's play? What is Uber going to do? Uber doesn't own a fleet management company. You are correct. Uber does not own a fleet management company. However, Uber is an investor in Move. That's with two O's, Moove. They're an African mobility fintech startup that has a heritage in fleet management. That company, which Uber is an investor in, they're on their cap table, will be operating the Waymo vehicles in Atlanta, in Miami. So perhaps we'll see where that goes. Could Uber acquire Move? Yes, it's a possibility. Could Uber more likely strike a strategic partnership over time? Yes, anything's possible. Because when you have the technology, which are the autonomous driving developers, you have the platform, which is the Lyft and the Ubers of the world, and you have the fleet maintenance, you have 95% of the pie. But the big piece of the pie that's missing, insurance. You have to figure out the insurance. It's been widely reported this week, and I didn't believe it until I was actually able to verify it with Uber, and I saw screenshots and photos of this. If you were to get picked up at LAX and go to your hotel, go to your house, or perhaps you live in LA and you want to go visit a friend and you hail an Uber, 42%, that's right, folks, 42% of your ride is insurance costs. That's a tax. That means that if you're going somewhere, for every $10 of your ride, $4.20 is a tax that you're paying. What do you get for that tax? They said, well, you'll be insured. We all know it's not going to make a difference. That's a tax that you're being paid on. Well, if you're operating in a fleet environment, there is a loophole in the California law. You don't have to pay that. Hence, over long term, it will be cheaper to go in a Waymo. That's why you're starting to see a lot of movement with Uber and Lyft are moving away from TNC drivers and going to fleet models because of the insurance loophole there. So you're going to see the large growth of fleets. And when you look at fleets, especially from an autonomy standpoint, you have Tesla. Tesla has unveiled the Cybercab. It came out at Burbank, California. It had its coming out party. I thought it was a Disney-esque event, which was kind of cool. It was really cool, actually. That comes out. It's shown off. If you go on X and you spend a lot of time on X, you can see that Tesla has been ramping up testing a Giga in Texas outside of Austin. It is just west of the Austin-Bergam Airport. They're testing the Cybercab. They are preparing to potentially launch Cybercab in a commercial service in Austin by the end of 2025. I am not going to comment if they will achieve the 2025 launch of Cybercab or they won't. What I will comment on is the platform and the fleet ability. What Tesla has done, which was so brilliant, which is going to change the market, is that for around $30,000, as Tesla's publicly stated, you will be able to own your own Cybercab. That will become your personally owned autonomous vehicle. And then when you are not using that vehicle, you will put it on the Tesla network where that vehicle could then generate revenue for you. The difference between the Tesla approach and all the other approaches, Tesla is actively working on getting an insurance license in all 50 states. Meaning, once Tesla achieves insurance in all 50 states, they can bundle the insurance in there. You'll be insured, and good insurance, really great insurance actually, and you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to make money, and that will become profitable for you. So what does Uber and Lyft do? The markets, if they call it the overhang. You read Investors Business Daily, you read Barron's, you read a lot of the publicly available data from the market. Say, oh, Uber, Lyft, sell-off, blah, 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 on Robotaxi hangover. Tesla's going to destroy them. No, Mr. Kawasaki, CEO of Uber, and Mr. Risher, CEO of Lyft, and they said, not so fast. They said, not so fast. Tesla, you want to only allow Tesla vehicles on the Tesla network. Lyft, Uber, we're going to be open for everybody. You will see a point now where you will be able to buy at some point in the future. I'm not going to give a time frame because I do not have a time frame, that you will be able to buy a personally owned autonomous vehicle. You will be able to put that vehicle on the Lyft network and the Uber network to generate revenue if it's not a Tesla vehicle. Perhaps that vehicle that you buy is powered by Nuro. Perhaps it's powered by Wayve. Or perhaps Waymo goes into the licensing business. Or Tesla finally strikes that long-rumored, much talked about deal where they're going to license FSD. We don't know. What we do know is that as this new vehicle supply comes onto the market is going to become fragmented. It is no longer going to be a market that is dominated by Waymo. It'll be a market that is fragmented with niches within niches. You will have your personally owned autonomous vehicle market. You will have your Robotaxi market that I will say this here for the record, that I truly do believe Waymo will continue to dominate going into the future. And then you'll have your May Mobilities and you'll have your other smaller niche plays. But as more and more product comes into the market, the fragmentation comes into the market. And when fragmentation comes into the market, you have experimentation, which tells you that this is a very, very healthy market. The Robotaxi market is growing. It is not a one-size-fits-all market. It is a market that is gradually expanding as new supply comes on. The winners today will not necessarily be the winners tomorrow. Where do you think the Robotaxi market is going? Send us an email at podcast@sae.org. That's podcast@sae.org with your thoughts and insights on where you think the market's going, perhaps on an upcoming episode of either SAE Tomorrow Today Unplugged or SAE Tomorrow Today. I'll share your thoughts and feedbacks. I'll respond, or write to me on X at GBRULTE. I'm active on there. I do respond, and I love to see them for you. So once again, that's where I believe the market's going. Thank you for listening to SAE Tomorrow Today Unplugged, because today is tomorrow, tomorrow is today. The future is a growing and prosperous Robotaxi market.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.